Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're having a wonderful time. This is a friendly reminder that our next session will begin shortly. Please make your way back to the ballroom and take your seats. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and activities that you don't want to miss. Thank you, and we will be starting soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to begin our next session. Cybersecurity investigation, crafting methodologies to combat cybercrime. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this segment, Adres Ginting, Director Protego Cybersecurity. Please join me in welcoming Adres Ginting to the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, selamat siang. Thank you for joining this event. And the speakers already joined with me on the stage. Could you check the Mr. Izazi? Is it online already? Oh, selamat siang,
Yes,
Pak
Adres.
Izazi Mubarok.
Ready online.
Very good.
Yeah.
So this
Thank you.
session, Pak Izazi Mubarok, welcome and join us. We are four here on the stage. So
Yes.
let me introduce our speaker today. I would like to introduce Shoko-san. She is from Incident Response Group, Senior Incident Coordinator of Japan. And then the second speaker will be Mr. Nathan Wu. He is from Interpol Global Complex for Innovation. And then our third speaker will be Mr. Izazi Mubarok. He is from Indonesia Digital Forensic Association. And then I would like to also to introduce Mr. Jenius H Hsieh. He is from PwC on cybersecurity and privacy. These are four our speakers today, and then I'll transfer the floor to Shoko-san. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for your introduction. Okay, my name is Shoko. Thank you for giving me an introduction. To give me time to share our statistics in 2023. My name is Shoko. I'm from JP Coordination Center. I'm Senior Incident Coordinator. Okay. Before talk, I would like to explain a little bit about JP-CC. JP is a national CISR in Japan, and with nearly 30 years of experience. And our main founder is Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry, but we remain non-governmental and independent organization. So we have mainly three services to provide. One is to respond, and the second one is to watch. And the third one is to prevent. And I'm a member of the first one to respond, incident response team. Okay, from here, I would like to share our statistics based on this incident report that we received from our constituency in last year in 2023. So you can see on the right ratio, this is a detail of the percentage of incident. And so we received like 28,735 incident report in last year. And most are related to the phishing site, like it counted for like a third quarters of all incident. And after phishing, it comes like scanning and defacement are the most next reported. Okay, from here, I would like to share this like a characteristic of phishing site. And there is three characteristic. And I picked up the three. And the first one is a maliciously registered domain. So you know the advisory just registered the malicious domain, and the name of this domain that resemble to the services that they want to get. And so they just run this like a phishing or a spear phishing with reasonable domains. And then another one is the DZA or a DZA lookalike domain. So advisory just the use of the DZA technique to generate these domains. So they were able to like make so many phishing sites and rapidly. You know, they don't need to run for a long period so many phishing sites because their purpose is to increase their credential shift success rate, right? So they just run the short period to run so many phishing sites in order to, it's enough to accomplish their goal, accomplish their purpose. So the another one is dynamic DNS service. And the attacker, advisor is the use of this dynamic DNS service to generate this like subdomain. So this is again, so many phishing sites are launched and quickly and hierarchical structure. This is really makes it harder for us to trust this like phishing content because the advisor just change the script to direct to another host. So it keeps like this change keeps really constantly, it really troubles us to investigate. And the other is 2 points. One is to compromise legitimate website to run the phishing content. This is, nowadays, this is not really in common recently. And the another one is domain drop catching. Okay, I raised here one case study. It is about this unauthorized domain transport by domain. This overview of this case is that the phishing site was listed on this like a sponsored space aid. This is the search site. And so this is a spoofed specific like Japanese domain register portal. So the domain administrator just enter their credential to log in this like a phishing site. And consequently the attackers was able to get this credential to use this credential to log into the phishing site and to use this like stolen credentials and to log into the legitimate register portal site to transfer the domain to the another registrar illegally. So I would like to here 3 points we need to focus on. The one is the phishing site was exactly running on this sponsored ad space. So we need to learn how and why and such a phishing site was able to on this like space. And the second point is at that point, domain administrator actually uses like a domain log services provided by providers, domain registers. But consequently, the attackers just remove this function and then transfer to the domain to the other registrars. And the third point is that, this is happened by the cyber attacks, but unfortunately, this domain register cannot be revived to the original registrar yet. So if you want to see, you can go to our blog. This is my slide, last slide. Phishing is definitely increasing right now. And then the phisher exploit the rule of this like domain, and they understand the domain life cycle, what is the domain life cycle is. And so I hope everyone here to do something for to help the internet users and to help them from stay out any troubles. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shoko-san. Thank you for your insight of the Japan emergency team. Well, I will pass this floor to Mr. Nathan Wu. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. My name is Nathan Wu. My slides aren't up yet, but it's okay. I'm going to be talking about analyzing digital piracy websites from a social network perspective. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. It's going to be a pretty deep subject, but I'll try my best in 10 minutes. So a little bit of a background. I'm assigned to Project ISOP at Interpol. We deal with addressing digital piracy on a global scale. We have about 7 individuals on our team. Each of us come from a different background and different specializations. For myself, I come from a background of data analysis. So sometimes law enforcement will have a lot of data that they receive that they don't necessarily know how to sift through. My job really is to support the investigators by looking through the data and try to derive some kind of insights to progress the investigations. A little bit of the presentation roadmap. Today I'll be talking about 2 techniques that are interconnected. The first one is network graphing and then social network analysis. I'll talk about how these 2 techniques could be used to look at digital piracy cases, and then more importantly present this technique so you can take them back home to your home agencies and think about how you could help for DNS abuse and DNS security. So just to start off with network graph, what exactly is it? It's really just a way to visualize social structures and relationships. So you look on the right here, it's made out of 2 components really. The first is the node, and then the second is an edge or a line. So in our day-to-day interactions, we usually have different relationships with different people, so be it family or your coworkers, or your friends, right? So these relationships can actually be graphed up into a network graph. And for web domains, it could be done the same way. So instead of individuals, you could have 2 web domains that are connected. So if we were to look at sort of like the structure for a single web domain, we could also understand how these structures are connected if we look at a community of web domains. And so I'm going to move on to a different but related concept called social network analysis. Once you've mapped out sort of a community of how it's structured, the next question to ask is, well, who is more influential within that network? So there's multiple measures for influence, but the most basic one is what we call degree centrality. So essentially, you count the number of connections a single node have with other nodes within the network. So if you look over here, you have the red dot in the middle. It's the most influential node with 5 connections, followed by the pink dot, which is 2 connections, and then finally the least influential is the gray dot with only 1 connection. The idea here is that law enforcement, typically what I hear is, they lack resources. So oftentimes when they have a pretty big network of criminal structures, they're unable to take out every single node. So the idea here is if they have limited resources and they have to pick one node, they want to pick the most influential node just to maximize disruption for a criminal infrastructure. So I'm going to move on now to a case study for how this can actually be used in crime analysis. So we received data for 7 digital piracy websites, so 7 different web domains. We decided to do 3 things. The first is just open source checks, so just to look at the websites and see how exactly does it operate when we click on the play button, right, of that illegally distributed copyrighted content. So what we found really from the open source checks is that when you look at the network elements, you click play. Your computer actually tries to get resources from other web domains, like something called an M3 U8 file, which is just a text file that tells you where the actual content is being hosted. So your computer goes to that M3 U8 file, retrieves the location of the TS file, and then your computer pulls that TS file from a different web domain, and that's how essentially the video is presented onto your computer. So with that knowledge, we're actually able to create a network graph to understand how these web domains are connected to each other. And then the last thing we did was social network analysis, just to assist law enforcement with resource prioritization. So if we were to map it all out, these 7 dots really represent the 7 web domains that we received data on. So if we were to map out how it's connected to other M3 U8 web domains, this is what it would look like. And then if we were to further map it out, how it's connected to other TS resources or other web domains, this would be what it looks like. So very interesting here. Right away, we see two different clusters in this network. The first cluster over here, we can see that it's pretty isolated from the rest of the other websites. It relies on its own infrastructure of web domains to basically distribute this illegal content. But what I think is really more interesting here is this bigger cluster on the lower left here. What you see here is 6 different websites that are actually connected to each other through the M3U8 resource and then the TS resource. So this is kind of new information for us because when we first received the data, we initially thought the 7 websites were separate investigations. But once we're able to map out the structures through network graphing, we're able to see that they are connected, right? And ideally, law enforcement would like to go through every single one of these web domains and basically shut them down. But if for some reason they have a lack of resources and they wanted to identify the 2 networks or the 2 nodes that are most influential, this could be something that they run. So SNA, you pick out the most influential nodes. In this case, it's website number 5, along with its associated M3U8 resource with high centrality scores, so high influence scores, basically. So the findings from this exercise, really through the open source investigation, we've identified new domains. So we started off with 7 web domains, and now by understanding how the websites work, we were able to now have 20 to 30 web domains. And that's beneficial for law enforcement because it's extra investigative leads for them, to either identify suspects or to take down more of that infrastructure. The second finding here is that, once we were able to map it out, we were able to understand that some of these websites were actually connected, right? Which could, therefore inform law enforcement on potential investigative avenues that they could pursue. And then social network analysis was also conducted for resource prioritization. So the graph that I showed you in the slide was kind of like a small network, so it's very easy to visualize just, by eyeballing it, just to see which nodes are influential. But sometimes we get large amounts of data, like this graph you see on the right over here. When you have infrastructure that could be extremely complex, especially when it's being used for criminal purposes, it can be hard to look at it and be like, okay, these are the influential nodes. So at Interpol, one of our services that we provide our member countries is the ability to run these large data sets through our computer systems to try to help them identify influential nodes. And then more broadly within criminology literature, SNA is very much talked about within the study of crime. So other than just looking at digital piracy websites, it's also been used to look at, child exploitation material, right? When you have links, web domains that are connected to each other, and when the structure is really large and, you have law enforcement and, people who work in obviously hosting and DNS abuse wanting to identify nodes that would, reduce the most amount of harm. They could use that to organized crime structures. Sometimes, you look at the academic literature, you have drug trafficking sort of crime groups, and when you have so many individuals involved, sometimes you want to look at who is most influential as well. So really the main takeaway here is just to present a technique to you that's often used in crime analysis, and to think about how you guys can take this technique back to your home agencies. And to try to implement it in your day-to-day work potentially, in order to create to address DNS abuse and create a safer internet for everybody. Thank you.
2 of the speakers already talked about the insight of the methodologies that they use from Japan emergency and also from the Interpol. Is very interesting. And the third speaker will talk about from the digital forensic side. So I would like to transfer it to Mr. Izazi Mubarok. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Adres. Can you hear me?
Yes, crystal clear.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. In this very short time, I would like to deliver you about cyber forensic investigation. To speaker talking about open source intelligence, how to investigate domains using the open source intelligence that we can use to make network. But now I would like to deliver to you about the forensic. When we talk about forensic, we talk about we have to handle or we have to concern with the physical devices. Uh, the first is last week. Last week, the Ministry of Communication and Informatics attended to our seminar and national conference in AFTI, and he said that cybersecurity is something a crucial issue for us today. And then he also suggested that AFTI, together with the Indonesian Cyber and Crypto Board, and also Kominfo, and also Cyber to create incident response team. So now would like to deliver to you how to establish digital forensic and incident response team for your organization. As the organization, they use the domain, they use the internet to make the IT technology for delivering service and anything. Now, first we understand that technology consists of many things, devices, networking, and everything. And when we talk about incident, when we talk about the threat, we talk about they will break the devices, networking, and everything. There is something traced in apps and then also in devices that we have to investigate to maybe yes to pursue the case to the court, or even we can enhance the security to our system. And then from the statistics, we understand that a lot of people use the devices to access the internet. And most of them are using mobile phone and laptop or a desktop. So from this statistic, we can take the note that it is important for us how to understand how they, maybe the criminals, use the device, mobile phone or a desktop to make a criminal. And in the other side, we are as the investigator or a forensic investigator or maybe the law enforcement officers. We also have to know how they work. So when we talk about digital forensic, we talk about how they use the devices, the network, the apps to conduct or to perform the criminals. So this is something behind the digital forensic. And then, the negative side of the technology, we are talking about the internet, is cyber threat, a lot of cyber threat. And one of them is, we have said from the first and second speaker is about the phishing or the using domain for conducting the criminals. And then one of the things when we talk about digital forensic or incident response, we must talk about cybersecurity. So the system that maybe organization should also establish a cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is not just talking about we have to protect the asset, but also the operation. When they establish a system to deliver service and everything, they make sure that they establish cybersecurity to make sure the operations of the company, of the organization can run well. And then there are a lot of the standard that we can use that, yes, everybody can adopt to the organization. And one of them is they should have established the incident response and digital forensic. So when something happened, I mean that when there are cyber incident, so this is the task of digital forensic and incident response to respond and then to acquire and then to investigate and then to know what really happened to the organization. And the next one is how to enhance the security, so to make sure operation of the business can run well. And then there is principles, standard resources, and the many things that we can learn from how the fear can work. And what the important thing about the fear task is, the fear is to respond. If there is something happening to the organization, every organization, the task, the first task is to respond, and then to acquire everything, every data on the desktop, on the cloud, on the smartphone, on the and many electronic devices. There are many data that can be traced, that can be used as a digital evidence, and we can pursue this to the court. And then Yes, this is the result or the output of or the output of conducting the very is we can also get the digital evidence that as I said before, that we can use it as the evidence in a court or maybe the enhanced cybersecurity. So when we talk about the today's issue, it's not about talking about cybersecurity that we have to implement, we have to establish to each of the organization, but also we understand, we know about the something bigger than the cybersecurity is cyber resilience. So what is cyber resilience? Cyber resilience is different with cybersecurity. I mean that the attack is inevitable, but we have to ready to respond every attack coming to the organization. So this is why we have to establish the function or the task or the existence of the digital forensic and incident response. And then the next is the incident response process. In the in the short overview of the incident response, the first is preparation, detection, and analysis. We can also use the data network log everything inside the organization that we have on the system, but also as the second speaker said that we can also use the another sources of the internet to and then to together combine in the detection monitor in the detection of the incident that maybe come to the organization. And then also we have to mitigate, and this is the fourth step is we have to investigate. We have to investigate using digital forensic technique in order to, yes, we gather evidence. We gather what really happened to the organization. And the next is we have to enhance the cybersecurity, what the vulnerable, what something a gap or maybe something that should be fixed or repaired in our organization. And then until a recovery and lesson learned. It is a big process of incident response. And then the second is this, is it the process, it is a digital forensic process. In the short explanation, I can say that there are two steps. First is the crime scene investigation. So it is different when you conduct incident response and digital forensic. When we talk about digital forensic, we have to acquire data and preserve the data in order to be used as digital evidence. And we can use this to pursue the court as the evidence to make sure that something happened uh, in the organization. This is the process from the identification type of evidence, maybe smartphone, maybe server, computer, Linux-based, Windows-based, and any type system devices, and then we collect and acquire data. So when talking about acquisition, there are a lot of technique methods that we can use. We can conduct a part of acquisition, logical acquisition, or maybe the whole system we can acquire data inside the system. So we can search for the root cause, what really happened to the system that use the domain name, and then preserve. And then the second step, the right step is we do a digital investigation. We can explore what really what something behind the browser. When we talk about domain register, and then we configure domain, or maybe we use the cloud as the infrastructures for the our hosting we can explore the browser. We can also look for the something inside maybe the server, the directory file, and many things that we can investigate. So from conducting digital forensic, I'm sure that we can we can enhance the security. So in the next the incident cannot be happen. And then this is just nice to know to the participant that it is how we develop the digital forensic and incident response. So there is personal, and there is tools, there is also the SOP or methods, and a lot of methods that can be used, adopt to your organization to make digital forensic and incident response. And maybe the last thing, I'm sure that not all digital forensic unit aware about how they build the lab, but in the Indonesia, we aware about we have to create or build the lab, but even we have to make it accredited using the ISO 17025. And then the last thing maybe that I can share to you is how to establish different task force. It is as maybe general guidance when your organization, you make a system or maybe yes, any everybody want to make sure something fine in your organization because you want to establish cyber resilience. This is maybe the little thing, small thing that you can implement or try to build. The first is what the fear task. Yes, they can be assigned to handle computer, mobile phone, or cloud. When we talk about internet, we talk about cloud. So they have to understand all the thing about cloud. And then there's a qualification. What should be there to make sure there is different task force, qualified personnel, and then methods, and then also they can be they can they have the skill how to identify, acquire, and then analyze. And then maybe the last thing also is tools. Yeah, not just open source, not just commercial tools, but there are a lot of the open source tools or maybe free tools that we can use combined together to support to make sure that the different the peer task force can be conducted well. Maybe it's enough. Andres, thank you very much.
We give a big applause to our three of our speakers today. So thank you for all of the three speakers. I would like to pass it to Mr. Jenius H Hsieh. You run the dark lab. So you are facing with the cybersecurity event, a lot of them. So what do you comment about the three of our speakers today?
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for giving me the chance to talk about this. So again, you know, I think interestingly here, I feel like I represent the private sector in terms of cybersecurity. So one of the things that I really wanted to mention and advocate here is that PwC Dark Lab, we have always been advocating for a safer cyberspace. So what this is exactly looking like, I mean, the internet, I think I was just talking to some friends yesterday. When I grew up, the first browser I've used was Mosaic 1.0. Maybe I think some of you might have heard of Alta Vista. So that was the first search engine that I've used. But what I really wanted to say is that, you know, internet, I felt like it have always been built up in a means to be open, for equality, for openness. And all these themes is something that I've seen in the APAC DNS Forum, which is something that we all appreciate for. But what we are struggling with from a private sector perspective is that a lot of criminal actors, so this is again our key research topics here, like Nathan, obviously. So cyber crimes and cyber criminals. The problem is cyber criminals are using this openness, the relatively ungoverned nature of the internet to conduct crime in the cyberspace. And this is becoming a big problem. I think just to state a little bit how important the cyberspace is becoming. I mean, back then it is what, news group, golfers, you know, emails. But nowadays it's way more than that. Just look at how much OpenAI was sold for, 9 billion. And Credit Suisse, UBS, was actually merged for only $3 billion. Nowadays, something like OpenAI, something in cyberspace, that is where all the value proposition is, and that is also where the cyber criminals are actually focusing on. And I think this is a big issue that we are seeing. So again, from Shoko, you know, sharing from the statistics, we can see the crimes and all the incidents are growing, and we have interesting research there around that also. And primarily what we see in Hong Kong and around the region. So I think just also a bit of a taste of the experience that we have in private sector, because we do have to deal with all these issues, right? When our clients, in fact, I was in a conference here yesterday, a client got ransomware attack, and I need to go in and do the cyber incident response, task force immediately for them. And this is really day-to-day kind of occurrence for us. Just last year alone, PwC Dark Lab, we have responded to over 70 cyber incidents, including ransomware, BEC cases, also business email compromise. And this is, BEC is especially relevant here because a lot of that actually do make use of domain names domain squatting or domain names that are made to look alike to the victim companies to conduct their crime. And this is something that is difficult for us, basically. And when you look at, back to what I talked about, like $9 billion in OpenAI, $3 billion in, bank mergers. But banks have always been rigorously regulated. So if you look at, they have KYC, AML, anti-money laundering kind of policies, a lot of cybersecurity controls inside there. So the controls that the previous speaker have talked about, all these are quite common in perhaps the banking space. But how about, as today, all the leaders here of the internet, what can we do more to secure the internet, right? And I think this is what I am really trying to advocate for. And something that I'd like to bring out also. So quite recently, we have started a program with the local in Hong Kong, with Hong Kong IRC. So we started a cyber hygiene program research to look at how we can potentially clean up some of the potentially fraudulent domains. So for example, some of the, like the .hk domain is not actually a real name kind of registration kind of approach. And so when we started this research, we are quite surprised. And so we didn't know what we can find, right? So from the private sector, we are always quite reactive. So we're looking at like a new domain created, our clients got hacked, but we are trying to take a more proactive approach. So let's look at all the domains that .hk have, and let's look at potentially what we can find. So what we have found out of, so far we have taken like over 10,000 domains as the sampling data. So what we found a number of them to be hosting C2 servers, which is command and control servers for a hacker to use. A number of them are typo squat domains of very prominent corporations. And a number of them might be have things like pornography, other stuff. And the way that we are doing it is using the research that we have always been providing to the private sector. So we look at a few things. So for example, when the domain names comes in, we look into the threat intelligence sources. For example, VirusTotal. We look at how malicious that domain is. We look at the typo squatting of the domain, whether using an algorithm, we can look at the domain name, whether that's close to a prominent company, a prominent corporation in Hong Kong or in the region. Also, who is, and that's where I was talking about Nathan's research was quite relevant. So we also look at who is information, for example. So this is relevant to some of the more sophisticated threat actors where you see them actually registering different domains around the world, doing things like dynamic DNS kind of backdoor, DNS tunneling, kind of sophisticated backdooring attack, tunneling of attacks. And we use WHOIS as a relationship to look between these domains to try to identify the same sophisticated threat actor, what other domains they are registering around the region, and potentially we are helping the local community to try to take that down. And this is something that I'm really advocating, and I hope all the leaders here can hear me out and potentially can join this cyber hygiene program to start making the cyberspace, the domain space, a better space and a safer space for everyone, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Jenius, for your view. I would like to ask your view for Shoko-san and Mr. Nathan about the importance of a collaboration among countries to combat this cybercrime, please.
Hi, yeah, that's a great question. So over at the Interpol side, I can kind of say that one of the common misconceptions is that we investigate files, but that's not actually true. We actually don't have any investigative jurisdiction in any of the countries that we work with. So a lot of what we do is actually just like, it's a collaboration. We identify files that have cross-border elements, and we try to get the relevant law enforcement agencies around the world to try to come together and work together. So we can't really direct any law enforcement agency to kind of do anything specific. But what we can do is we can try to create an environment for them to come together, talk about the files, talk about the evidence, and to understand sort of like how criminals are actually working around the globe, and then try to have them move forward on these investigations, like, you know, effecting arrests, conducting surveillance, and all that stuff. So it's very important, but it's also important to remember that, you know, different countries have different priorities and different legislations. So we can't really, you know, once again, direct anybody. We can just kind of encourage them to move forward. And sometimes it's, you know, when different players or different countries have different priorities, it doesn't matter. What's important is that the communication remains open, so that at different points in time, when they come together again, and at some point those priorities align, then it's, you know, really the perfect time to work together, right? So I think it's very important, number one, just to have communication in place, so everybody learns about the challenges and, more importantly, the priorities, so that, you know, at the right time, right place, we can make things happen.
Okay, I totally understand and agree with your point. And Alison, I would like to you know, raise 2 points. The one is share your knowledge and share the best practices, and share how to, if you have the success story, share to how to reduce the progression of attack that you faced before. This is really vital to combat the cyber attacks nowadays, because the cyber attacks keeps evolving and becoming more sophisticated, right? And so this is very important to share your knowledge and how to combat the cyber attacks. And the second point is to communication. Yeah, this is really important. And because we, coordination center, we talk with lots of people, and including government and industry parties and ISP and registrars, and also the national CSIRT. There's especially like there is a community for the among national CSIRT, so we can talk with them, and we if there's some like a cross-border incident occurs, we ask them for their assistance to, you know, the assistance from the CERT of that country. So we may ask for the support to investigate on our behalf. So we can use that because there is such communication between us. And so if there's like cross-border cyber attacks occurs, we work with them to how to handle that kind of specific incident if occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the audience, you can ask questions to all of the panelists here. This is a very important topic today. So if you like to ask, please feel free. No? So I'm not stopping. You can also ask still, but I will ask to the panelists here. For the future outlook, Mr. Jenius, anticipating the emerging trends and challenges in the cybersecurity landscape, what is your envisioning the future of the cybersecurity investigating point of view?
Right. Thank you for that. I feel like the cyberspace is still going to be quite, I think this is no surprise, it is still going to be quite dangerous as long as, again, very private sector minded, as long as there's money within this space, the cyber criminals will actually keep coming back to try to do different things. And maybe just to key in a few things that we have seen so far this year. So one of the key theme I feel like I'd like to mention is the rapid weaponization of vulnerabilities. So obviously this has, I feel like this has nothing much to do with domain names, but it is nevertheless important. So it's important to understand that all software do have security bugs. It's just a matter of whether they are already discovered already or not. So what happened in the past when you see things like Lockbit, they actually typically uses a vulnerability that have not been patched for maybe quite a few years. But this year, what we are seeing is all these new vulnerabilities, critical VPN vulnerabilities that was released, it has been exploited within 24 hours. So within 24 hours, I've seen, for example, the Palo Alto VPN vulnerability. You have been exploited to put a backdoor inside there, FortiGate as well. So it's not, you know, I'm not saying that any of these vendors are bad. It's just a fact of life that all software do have software bugs, and it really matters how quickly they can respond to it. And what is becoming more alarming is attackers using these weapons very quickly nowadays. Instead of a few years, they are using it in 24 hours. So that's number one. The second one that I'd like to also mention, this is more relevant to the domain name, is phishing attacks. And make no mistake, actually phishing attack is big business for cyber criminals. What we have seen in business email compromise, like phishing emails, our clients can lose the magnitude of millions of euro dollars, for example, within 1 or 2 weeks' time, simply by a few fraudulent email asking for money to be transferred into attacker's account. And all this email will look lifelike, because what the attacker have done already was to hack into the email systems of either one of the parties, so they know about all the contacts. And this will become more prevalent, and this is about, so two things here. Number one is about attacking the identity of the users directly, because they do need to get into the email systems in the first place. This is through typo squad domain. Usually this is usually through domains that host phishing contents, for example, a domain or a website that make itself look alike to Microsoft Office 365, for example. And yeah, secondly, that would be through phish domain names. So I think these two will be the key trends moving forward. So vulnerabilities that are being exploited in a relatively very short period of time, you need to be able to patch them quickly. It's important to have a means to look at your attack surface easily. And secondly, the use of phishing domains is only to become more prevalent. It's going to access not only corporates, it's also going to attack end users, you know, alike. Yeah, basically.
Thank you. Mr. Izazi Mubarok, what do you feel for the anticipating emerging strengths and challenge? You still in the mood?
Okay, thank you. I think I agree with the third speaker about the challenges in the future. Maybe some have been mentioned. First is about malware. You know that ransomware. Now, every day we often see the news that some organization got the ransomware and many other many type of ransomware. And then second is about social engineering. Yeah, phishing is one of the maybe the biggest weapon that the hacker use to come to the system. And then maybe the third thing that maybe we must understand, and I think this is also important, is the supply chain. Supply chain is very important for us. Maybe the current issue is about how that we have to aware about supplier and about the supply chain system that come to our organization. Maybe we have established the grid system, the grid cybersecurity in our system, but maybe we don't aware, is it safe for the supply chain organization coming to our organization? So we have to make sure all of the checklists of the control of the information system, cybersecurity information system must be correctly established in our country. And then about the how to anticipate the first, maybe the number one thing that important is it should be the top management. I think I can say that the commitment or the awareness of the leader is very important to make sure that the cybersecurity, cyber resilience can be conducted in the organization. Commitment is very important. And then the second is they should adopt the standard and really implement the standard to the organization. And the weakness that I talked to the forum and the association is it is about we have very small number of the people understand about the cybersecurity, about the information security. So it is a problem that I think we have to collaborate together among the organization, private, public, and community to make sure that the awareness to the leader and to the people, to the personal in the top, in the middle, and in staff should know about the security and should implement the security standard. I think like this. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We still have 2 minute times. I give it to Mr. Nathan. Do you have a few for this? Oh,
Mira,
okay. Do you have a question, please?
Question first or?
Please.
Thank you. So this is Mira from Pandi. Thank you for the opportunity. So I have this one curiosity over the economic loss as a result of the cybercrime. So the economic loss related to the bank, right? So I would like to know the panelists' views on how are the methodologies or the collaboration that we can have with the banking system that we have today to restore the economic loss. Do we already have, I mean, in the international level, do we already have this kind of collaborations or the methodologies to then help people that, get the economic loss because of the cybercrime that attack them? Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can take this again from a practitioner point of view. I think a few ways that economic loss can happen, right? Obviously, number one, ransomware, the easy means to think about that is the fact that the business went down, they cannot operate. Second means is that they might need to pay the ransom. Obviously, it's a serious topic. But maybe, Mira, I think what you might be more interested in when it comes to monetary loss of banks is perhaps things like business email compromise, where fund transfer were made, say, to a fraudulent bank account. How do you get that money back? In my experience, it is not easy unless it was discovered relatively quickly. So, for example, so typically what happens, right? Like an attacker will get the victim to put the money into a fraudulent bank account, and once that money gets transferred over, they would transfer that into another country where the banking system is, KYC, AML-wise is, should I say, less developed and more easy to launder the money away. And this is what we have been seeing. So once that money get out of the local banking systems, I've never seen before that the money can come back. And this is the fact of life. While it is still in the local banking system, what could have been done? For example, in Hong Kong, we get lawyers to freeze the account, to freeze the money there before that money gets transferred out. And this is what we're seeing. I feel, I'm not sure whether the panelists here have other views, but the way I see it, I don't think there is a very formal international collaboration of a system to recover the money once it goes to another system, another country. If it is still in the local country, then yes, it's possible. But once it's transferred out, I've never seen it being successful before.
Thank you for all the panelists we have today. This is a very important topic today since the time is already up. Then I would like to say thank you for all of the panelists and a big applause to all of them. I return the floor to the organizer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give applause to our moderator and speakers. And same as the previous session, I would like to invite the speakers and moderator, please upstanding in front of the table for the photo session first. Thank you so much for a very fruitful discussions, and also thank you so much for the presence. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it was a valuable session that we have been seeing together. All right, speakers, please take a look on the camera. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Also, thank you for the speakers. For those of you who has joined virtually, thank you so much. And once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please give applause to end up our breakout session on this very lovely occasion. And now I will let you to enjoy your lunch break, ladies and gentlemen, same venue as yesterday at the exhibition gallery. And we will continue our plenary session at 2 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. So once again, we will continue our next agenda at 2 p.m. and I'll see you on our next agenda, the plenary session. Enjoy your lunch break, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.